If you're ready to fire up the grill with something truly special, it's time to buy beef the cowboy way. At Bid on Beef, you don't just shop, you bid in our auctions. You choose the ranch, you choose the cut, you choose the price, and at the end, you win premium all American beef from vetted ranchers you can trust. It's an exciting, one of a kind auction experience that brings you closer to the land, the livestock, and the families who raise it right. From juicy ribeyes to mouth-watering burgers, this is beef worth gathering around the dinner table for. So head on over to bidonbeef.com, use code RADKEY to save on your first auction, and start bidding today. Great beef, great people, all American, and you can find it at Bid on Beef. Welcome to the heart of rural America, where we celebrate great people doing inspiring things in their rural communities to make agriculture and this country stronger. I'm your host, Amanda Radke, a South Dakota beef cattle rancher, wife, mother of four, small business owner, and advocate for agriculture. This is a show where we encourage everyday citizens to find their voice and stand strong in their convictions and fight for American family farms, ranches, and rural main streets. We dig into the policies that impact the future of agriculture, and we stand firm to defend our God-given constitutional property rights. The future of America's heartland is counting on us, and that future will be shaped by those willing to get into the arena. So let's step courageously in the arena together to fight for liberty, the land, our legacy, to keep this nation free and fed, and to secure a bright future for our kids and grandkids. Let's get to work. Hey everyone, Amanda Radke back for another episode of the Heart of Rural America podcast, the show where we highlight great people doing inspiring things in their rural communities to make agriculture and this country stronger. I'm here at the beautiful Casey Tibbs. What's the official name of this? I mean, it's Heritage Center?
Heritage Center.
I should have that. Well, it's absolutely gorgeous right here in Fort Pierre, South Dakota. A great place to meet with Senator Mike Rounds for a roundtable discussion on the state of the beef industry. And we just wrapped that up with a dynamic 1-hour conversation featuring producers from all across the state. Senator, you're home on recess and you're kind of unrolling this new act, the RANC Act. But before we get into that, it's good to see you. Welcome back to South Dakota.
Thank you.
And thanks for taking the time to visit. The question of the day, though, of course, is President Trump's surprise announcement last week, Friday, saying that he was going to buy 300,000 metric tons of foreign beef, country undisclosed at the moment. I guess, what say you once you heard that announcement?
Look, this was really disappointing, I think, and talking with cow-calf operators here, producers and so forth. This is not the kind of news they wanted coming out of the White House at a time in which we've talked a lot about America First and America First policies. These are Americans, and they truly believe that what the president's been trying to do for the last couple of years is the right thing to do. He is putting America's first. He's talking about manufacturing here in the United States. And suddenly here we have an opportunity where cow-calf operators are actually making a profit right now. And then to hear that they're making a profit, the price of hamburger is up, therefore the president is going to start bringing in beef from outside of the United States of questionable quality to begin with. But second of all, why in the world, at a time in which you want to bring production back into the United States, this is the most natural of all production there is livestock production. Why in the world would we then say, no, you're making too much money on this thing here? Everybody wants beef coming in from someplace else. That's just not true. And so I think the president got some really bad advice from somebody. And I'm hoping that he reconsiders this and that he does not incentivize the importation of beef of questionable quality from someplace else. And the other piece of this that I think is of concerning is normally that's going to come in through a packer. My question is if these packers are bringing in this beef, are they going to continue to be buying beef or livestock from the producers that count on them for the market? Because we've only got 4 of them. And if one of them decides, no, I'm just bringing in boxed beef, frozen boxed beef from someplace else, are they actually going to be decreasing the price of it here? I don't think they are. I don't think you're going to see a change in the price here. And at the same time, it sends a terrible, terrible message to the market the volatility on this market is it's going to bring the price down for livestock that's being marketed. And the fact that it's right here just before the fall run for a lot of these folks where they actually market their calves, good sign for the cattle market. Unfortunately, I'm afraid it's going to hurt some of our producers. So I hope the president reconsiders and decide to figure out another path forward.
Yeah, it sent shockwaves across the industry. I'm pretty sure my phone about melted overheating. But what I was hearing across the countryside was producers that were feeling kind of hopeless, kind of defeated, and a little bit abandoned. And, I would grant that Trump and his administration has done a lot for rural America, as some of his strongest supporters are farmers and ranchers. And yet, like you said, it kind of chips away at the confidence we have to rebuild the cow herd.
It does. And that's what's going on right now is we've got the smallest cow herd in 70 years. But if you want to increase the size of the cow herd, you've got to have a stable market, because in order to increase the cow herd, it means a rancher or a farmer has got to keep a heifer. That's the female calf, and keep it so that they can have it become a cow and produce a calf again next year. These calves will eventually produce, when they keep them, can produce cows for an average of about 10 years into the future. And the only way you build that herd is by keeping those heifers rather than marketing them as beef.
It's one of those things, there is no easy solution to all this. And following Trump over the years, it's like, I know he's very good at the art of war. And so I've kind of started thinking, like, what was the big picture play here? Or what other political nuances don't I know about that maybe he does? But I will say, I will give him the caveat here. If there's one thing he did in this announcement, it was uniting all of these different cattle organizations that fight each other all the time. And B, I'm also hearing from so many shoppers, beef lovers, that are like, well, wait a minute, I want to know where my beef comes from. So let's talk about how this move might predicate that pressure needed to get MCOOL across the finish line.
Well, in the Farm Bill before the Senate committee right now, we have mandatory country of origin labeling. It's included. Senator Thune got that in, which is great news. We've been trying to get that done for like 11 years now, but it's in there on a bipartisan basis. It was put into the Farm Bill that the Senate will be considering. That's really good news. But you're right. The other piece of this is, what does that family say now about if they go back in and they're going to buy beef, they're going to buy hamburger? What about the quality of that hamburger? And how do they know that the quality is as good as it was before we started importing additional ground beef from someplace that we're not really sure where it's coming from yet?
Especially with the promise that it's going to be priced 25% cheaper. I mean, Claire skeptical.
I'm not sure about that. And I'm not sure why it would be priced 25 cents less. Most of these folks are in it to make a profit. And these packers most certainly are. And so to be able to suggest that it's going to be priced that, there's a difference between hamburger that's at 80% meat and then 20% fat. That can be pretty good burger cooking stuff. I like that for that. But you get 95%, which is more expensive, but it's leaner. And a lot of moms out there are probably saying, no, I prefer the leaner stuff. We don't know what this is going to be. What we do know is, as you indicated, normally the folks that represent farmers and ranchers, in a lot of cases from different points of view, kind of shoot at each other a lot. And a circular firing squad kind of a deal. And the one thing the president has done here is he has united all these folks, and they have turned their focus and their attention not on each other, but it's united them in their opposition to this. And I'm just really hoping that the president has some folks talking to him and offering him some other alternatives that might do a better job of long-term bringing down the price per pound, but also allowing for more production. And in doing so, allowing these cow-calf operators and feeders an opportunity to make even more money in the future because of a larger cow herd.
When it comes to seasoning your steak, don't settle for anything less than all American. Redmond Real Salt is mined right here in the US of A. Pure, unrefined, and packed with natural minerals. No imports, no additives, just clean, honest salt from America's heartland that brings bold flavor to every bite. It's the perfect finishing touch for steaks, burgers, and backyard barbecues to celebrate all that we hold dear: faith, family, and freedom. So head on over to redmond.life, use code RADKEY to save, and taste the difference. Redmond Real Salt, real flavor, real minerals, proudly made in the USA and used in my kitchen and on my ranch every single day. At Radke Land and Cattle, we have been on the hunt for an accounting software that truly can capture all the ins and outs of our agricultural enterprise. We found Ambrook, the smart and easy to use tool that helps you track profits by enterprise, location, and more. So you always know what's making money. Use it from your phone or computer anytime, anywhere. Save time, feel confident in your finances, and get back to doing the work you love. Visit ambrook.com/radkey to try it for free for 1 month. The last month that we've taken a few hits in the cattle business. I mean, the announcement that after 14 months, the Mexican border was going to reopen, which yesterday we saw those first cattle, I believe 680 head crossing that border in Douglas. Of course, then you have the New World screwworm concern. You have some of the critical infrastructure with packing facilities closing down, which is devastating to these cattle in the middle America. And then this announcement, but I don't want to be the one that just screams about the problems. I want to talk about solutions. And if we could reach the president and reach the voters as midterm comes around, I think there's two things. I think we're really concerned about how to keep the rancher on the land and how to keep beef on the dinner plate. So I guess to start, could you talk a little bit about the affordability issue when it comes to beef? And really that probably leads into this discussion on the RANC Act.
Yeah, look, the reason why beef is more expensive now is because we've got the smallest cow herd in the last 70 years. And at the same time, people are recognizing the quality of beef. And as a protein, it's as good as you get. So number one, the demand is still there. People want it. But your cow herd has been made smaller and smaller because, and in many cases, you got ranching operations that have become smaller. Ranchers, cowboys are getting older. They're not having as many kids as they used to have. And the kids that are in there are finding it more difficult to stay established. And so what you end up with is fewer folks are keeping their livestock. One area also is a lot of the areas that we've got across the country that used to be grass has been broken up and it's now in the farm bill. It's being put into corn growing, soybeans, milo, wheat, and so forth. Some of it's marginal land. It's land that would have been better served as grass, but we don't have a farm program that can assure any kind of a payment if you're buying land that is equal to what you can find. If you put it into the farm program and get paid, even if you have a lousy crop, you still get some money out of it. Not a lot of money, but you can get some money out of it. And so there's some stability there. RANC Act is our attempt to try to say, look, if somebody wants to put some of that back out of what is a row crop operation now and it's marginal in nature, maybe they should consider putting it back into grass. And what we've offered is let's take what the county averages for rental rates on land. We'll pay that for a 10 to 15 year period of time. But during that time period, you put it back into grass, you manage it, and you make it available for forage. And as long as if it's being grazed, you'll get a payment each year. But you also get a payment from the person that's putting the livestock on it to graze it. So you can actually probably do better if you're putting it back into grass long term. The idea is that we don't have enough grass in order to expand the cow herd. We need more of it. This is an opportunity. It's not the end all. It's not a fix everything, but it might take some of that land that's currently being row cropped and we're paying insurance premiums on it now, and we're paying insurance payments out under the federal program. And we might even save some money by putting it back into grass and actually a smaller payment back out.
So it was announced at Dakota Fest in my hometown in Mitchell. It's called the Rebuilding America's National Cow Herd, the RANC Act. And today's roundtable discussion, you brought together a whole wide variety of producers. Some were fans, some were critics, some had questions. I guess, what's the feedback that you're getting on this? And maybe just unpack maybe some of the larger concerns people have.
Yeah, I think in a perfect world where there was no farm program ever introduced and everybody could just make a profit, then you wouldn't start a new program. A lot of cow-calf operators in western South Dakota, they don't have much of that land around them.
Sure.
And they think that maybe a better alternative would be to try to get some of that public land that's being taken away from grazing right now, put it back into grazing again. They make a really good point, and it's something that I think we're going to go back and look at to find out whether or not we can promote the grazing of some of that land, some of that forest lands, grasslands that's in, the public ownership. Maybe put some of that back in and responsibly forage it. That's an idea, and it's worth following up and seeing if we can get something like that done. But the second part of it was in a time period in which we already influenced the market for land and what it's being used for with the Farm Bill that's been in existence now for more than 20 years, where we tell folks, if you put it in and you report your acres and so forth, we will, because you pay an insurance premium, we will, if you have a drought or you have a bad year or whatever, or hail or anything else, we'll pay you for the loss of that cropland. Well, That's what's driven a lot of people to break up grass and put it into these crops. Like I say, corn, soybeans, milo, and so forth. Maybe it's time that we think about modifying that. And that's what this is designed to do, is to modify that and say, rather than simply saying you got to break it up or keep it broken up and plant a crop every year, let's try to put it back into grass, and let's try to maybe provide an incentive that you keep it in grass, but you make it available for grazing. And there are going to be some young people out there that might not have had a chance to put livestock on land because there's no more grass around their area. This is an area where they might be able to find some of that and make it available. This isn't limited to just young farmers or new farmers, but we would give a preference to folks that put that with a young farmer.
Okay. And, you know, me being an independent cattle rancher, and I believe in like very limited government, conservative values, like fiscal responsibility. One of the things I'm always skeptical of is like you said, great, another government program. And in a perfect world, we'd just let the free market fly. But I can't say how many times I've come to Pierre and testified on bills and said like, hey, we're picking winners and losers in agriculture. So we're putting the thumb on one thing or another. And that's kind of the skepticism I've seen online is like, well, 20, 30 years ago, they paid us to tear it up and tear out the fences. And now the pendulum's swinging back. And I get that sentiment, but to me, it almost seems like a balancing act of sorts. So,
that's what we're trying to do, is to bring a little bit of balance back into this. Because I think a lot of those producers out there, they wouldn't have survived if they wouldn't have busted that land up. And they wouldn't have been able to continue on, because the incentive was put out at the federal level saying, we'll provide you with some safety net coverages here if you'll do it this way and produce more commodities. But that meant for some folks saying, you know, if I'm going to do this, I'm probably going to have to break up that piece of land that has not been broken before. Okay, we've gone that far. It worked. We've kept a lot of those folks in business. Now we're coming back saying, okay, look, we really do need more grass for livestock production. Short grass country out west, there may not be much there except some public lands that we might want to put back in. But for East River or in the central part, there may very well be some landowners out there that are saying, you know, I could still break even or do even a little bit better, and I could put this back into grass. I don't have to have it broken up every year. I don't have to harvest it every year. I could put it back into grass, manage the grass, and a young farmer might be able to very well put some cows on it, make a living as well. And you get paid for putting the cows on the land.
Yeah. And I love more cows, love to see grass. But for me, my area alongside the James River by Mitchell, it's like I've watched for 20 years as really marginal ground has been tore up because you can't fail, right? And it's devastating to see. And then that has had consequences with, you know, increased flooding because we don't have that grassland to capture that rainfall and it just kind of washes away. And so to me, I could see some restoration of the land, but then you have bipartisan support and that there's a conservation piece to all this as well.
That's right. And Amy Klobuchar, Senator Amy Klobuchar from Minnesota, is my co-lead on this. She is the ranking member on the Ag Committee. We've talked about it. There is conservation in this in terms of you got to have a plan put together. You've got to have some rotation involved in it, but it's common sense stuff that I think most producers are doing anyway. But the idea behind it is to put it back into grass and make it long-term. And by the way, this particular proposal says maximum amount is 20 million acres across the entire United States, one limit. But the second limit on it is you decide 10 to 15 years and that's it. You can't re-enroll it again. At that stage of the game, there are other options out there available for you, but it's not designed to be a re-uppance to where you're always going to get paid this forever. This is a chance to put it back into grass and to see if foraging works for you.
Working cattle can be stressful at times, but the job is made so much easier with equipment that is safe, strong, and simply designed. I highly recommend Real Tough livestock equipment for all your working facility needs. We just installed the deluxe chute at Radke Land and Cattle, and it has been an absolute game changer as we run cows through our chute during AI season. It's durable and easy to use, and it's made to last a lifetime. Real Tough offers a wide range of products, including calving barns, panels, loading chutes, tubs, alleys, and portable working systems. Manufactured in the US of A, Real Tough is family owned and operated. Their commitment to helping farm and ranch families truly exemplifies what this show is all about. Learn more at realtough.com, that's TUFF, and be sure to tell them Amanda sent you to receive an extra bonus with your order. Let's get you some iconic green Real Tough equipment headed your way. I promise you're going to love it.
This show is made possible with the support of CK6 Consulting. the trusted name in nation-leading Angus genetics, where the focus is connecting great people to great cattle. Stay ahead of the curve by following CK6 Sales at ck6consulting.com or reach out to the CK6 team, including Chris Earl, Wes Teeman, Cody Fleeman, or myself. Ready to take your program to the next level? Visit ck6source.com, your gateway to the best in performance-driven Angus bulls on the market. So it got brought up in the discussion at the roundtable today, some of the organizations that maybe raise an eyebrow for some ranchers of like, well, is this actually good for the rancher or not? Is this kind of, we're kind of shifting away from maybe the Green New Deal where the cow was bad and they were destroying the planet. Is this kind of a shift in maybe perception that the cow can be a part and is a part of a great environmental plan, which God intended?
That is exactly what we're trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
We think we need more cows. We think we can manage it appropriately. It doesn't mean that it's ever going to be perfect, but we think putting livestock back on the land again is a step in the right direction. And I think there's a lot of people out there that agree with it. What we're really hoping is that it's not too late and that a lot of those guys that are my age that have got young families out there, sons and daughters that would like to continue this on, we're hoping that we're doing this in a fashion that maybe some of that next generation actually says, this is worth it. I can stay on the farm. I can stay on the ranch.
Mm-hmm.
And as long as I can get some more grass, I can get started and I can start building some equity. That's really what this is about, is capital, equity. But you've got to have grass if you're going to have cows.
Well, this is certainly one piece of the puzzle, I think, in a larger picture of what can we do to give confidence to the American cattle rancher to keep doing what they're doing and, hey, maybe even expand their herds. I guess, is there any other misconceptions or feedback that you're hearing that you'd like to take the opportunity to address head on?
Well, this was put together by producers. Producers brought this to us and said, look, we think this is a way to modify what is an existing farm program. Same guys all said, if we hadn't put all of the land into crop production, we'd probably try to keep more of it for grass. But it's not perfect, but it's a step in the right direction. It is one segment of what needs to be some reforms on the ag policy for the United States, but we think it's a step in the right direction. And hopefully we'll continue to get feedback. Like we said, we don't think it's perfect, but we think it's a step forward, and we want input on it. We want suggestions on it, and it's a voluntary program. This is not focused on necessarily so much helping somebody to put land back from row crop into grass after thinking they've made a mistake, but rather saying, as a part of public policy at the federal level, we need to start recognizing the value of grassland.
Yep.
And we want to be work ranch grassland, not just set aside and not in production at all. We require that you graze it. And if we can do that responsibly, then I think everybody wins, including conservation promoters in terms of pheasants, ducks, white-tailed deer, and so forth. That can work very well with production ag and with keeping a larger number of cows in the program. We need more cows or else we can't grow this herd.
That's right. We're going to make cattle grazing great again. I do want to ask you about the cost, to the taxpayers. That got brought up today too, that actually we could be saving some money here as this is implemented.
Yeah, we don't know what the cost will. We're going to have CBO do the reviews, but we're going to try to make sure that they understand that these folks are getting paid something already in the farm bill, because most of this, the stuff that we're talking about, is marginal land. Marginal land does not produce as well as, high quality land does. And yet it's part of what's in their portfolio of land that's in the farm program. And you've got to report it. You've got to insure it. And you're going to get paid a minimum on it if you're not making the minimum number of bushels a yield. And so we think that they've got to take that into account. On the other side of it, we need more grassland. And this is a chance to, rather than simply putting it into a conservation reserve program where it would not be grazed, this is an opportunity to actually get a rate of return with more cows in it, which is one way to reduce the price for consumers for beef in the future.
So finally, as we wrap up the interview today, you're from South Dakota, where the cattle outnumber people 4-1. You understand this industry well. You grew up in it, surrounded by it. What would your final message to President Trump and this administration be as we head into the midterms and all of the other factors that are at play here? What do you wish he knew from right here in cattle country?
America First is a really good policy, but it needs to apply to those folks that really are part of the American way of life. And what they do is produce as pure of a product as you can get. and their product should be respected as part of the American First policy as well. And the fact that we're trying to build this and to build more here should not be hampered by a short-term attempt to bring down the price of hamburger at a time in which I don't think it'll even bring it down in price. I just hope the president reconsiders this and really takes a hard look at some of his most solid supporters out there and the strong belief that we want to produce more in America, not less. Long-term policy can be good short-term policy as well when you explain to people that you're trying to build this cow herd and make the price of beef more competitive in the future by having more cows available for production. So I just hope the president reconsiders this short-term decision and lets that market stay viable for the American ag producer.
Well, Senator Rounds, thanks for all you're doing for our state and the country out in Washington, D.C. And thank you for this roundtable discussion today. More to come. Stay tuned for the RANC Act. Send me questions, updates, feedback to the senator. I'm sure he'd love to hear it.
And look, we want to make it better. And if you've got some ideas or you got questions on it, contact us. We'd be happy to respond.
Wonderful. Well, I'm Amanda Radke with the Heart of Rural America. We'll see you next time.
While I've got you here, I would love to invite you to check out my website, amandaradke.com. Each week, I share my column, this podcast, and new items to shop for farm and ranch families, including my children's books that celebrate agriculture. Use code DUSTYTRAIL to save 15% on your next purchase. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for supporting my small business and for your continued support in keeping me on the road fighting for farm and ranch families. I'm thankful to each and every one of you who tune into this show each week. New episodes drop every Wednesday, so be sure to subscribe, share, and leave a review to let me know how you're liking the content and our guests. Until the next time we meet on the Dusty Trail, I'm Amanda Radke, and this is the Heart of Rural America.